Hello, good day. This is Good Grace doing an ear color tutorial. It's been a requested video. It's done in time lapse, so please keep up. First thing to do, add a layer on top of the line art layer for the flats. Choose your preferred color for the ear. I choose pink, as you can see. Laying it all out. Then after laid it out, it's time for some cleanup. I use the eraser. And on the lasso tool, if you're using the lasso tool, you have to select the area that you don't want and hit delete, and that should get rid of the mess. I have a cold, so please bear with me. Okay, after I finish do the cleanups and I feel satisfied, then I select the entire area that I've just colored and hit Control T. That's to enable the free transform option. Then hit enter and it shall select the work area that you have just selected, and you can create a layer on top of the flat for adding shadows, the darker tones, and nothing can get outside of the selection, as you can see. Then after you have the shadows and you're pleased with what you have, you can create another layer on top of the shadow layer for the highlights. Some artists, and for some pieces, you can actually do the shadows, highlights, flats, and one layer, and even on the same layer as the line art, but it's all about preference and the work style that you're doing. Adding some cool shadow now. And highlights. By the way, this is my first voice tutorial, so I might seem a little bit weird and not too coherent. And so please bear with me. Nervous. Adding highlights. To add more interesting look to the your coloring or painting, for the shadows and highlight, you can change the layer options. For the shadow, you can change it to multiply, and for the highlights, you can change it to overlay. That should add us some interesting values. On to blending, adding some core shadow. The core shadow, my brush pressure is set to hard. Select control. Now I'm softening the tones, the shadows. So I soften my brush. The opacity of the brush is set to around 50 to 40, and the flow is set to 42. You can adjust it to your liking. Adding highlights. You have to know the direction of the light. So for me, the light is coming from the right, and the shadow is the left. It's more cast in the shadows. On to the third one. I'm adding brown here to this one. Laying out the flats. cleanups. I know that the lasso selection and delete cleanup is a bit fast, I think, but I rather use the eraser. It feel more traditional to me. It's a bit time consuming, but it's worth it. Select, adding some shadow. At this point, my brush is set too hard, so it look more cell shaded. But later, I will soft it out with a soft brush by changing the brush opacity and pressure sensitivity. Blending in the colors. Softening out the core shadows. Or should I say odd shadows? Adding highlights. More highlights. Highlights add so much detail. Make the image pop. Like a soda pop. I think I should have an ear part in this girl here. In the middle, of course. Yeah, I decided to add some skin tone instead of leaving the character blank like that. Give it more life. Green eyes, pink hair. Does that remind you of any character you know? By the way, these are all original characters. Blondie. Yeah, and it's very wise to start coloring our painting from a darker background instead of a white. I know I did it on a white background, but it's more better to paint on a darker background. You show up the color more. Give you a better chance on values. That's what they say. And some shadows to the skin tone. Highlights. Blush. Such innocence. More highlights. White highlights, I like to call them intense highlight. It's preferable to do intense highlight on a separate layer on top. At this point, I merge all my layers except from the background layer sharpen up the ear by using a smaller brush to define detail. This video is coming to a closing. So if you want me to elaborate more on any other concern you have out there on coloring or anything pertaining art, you can leave a comment below and let me know what's the next request. It's the end, so thanks for watching.